If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good evening. Welcome to our school board directors meeting. A little bit different tonight, as you might have noticed. We're practicing social distancing as instructed, so there's fewer of us here, and we are doing this via live stream so others can watch if they wish to join in. The first order of business is to adopt our agenda, and so we will entertain a motion from our board of directors for that.
I move that we adopt tonight's agenda as presented.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to our board consent agenda. Again, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval of the board consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, now we'll move on to our superintendent consent agenda.
I move that we approve the superintendent's consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, next up is our superintendent report. So I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Merlino for an update.
Okay, just really quickly wanted to update you on kind of the most recent information with respect to the closure of the coronavirus. Governor, so last night I think everyone saw the governor's statement that he made on TV, basically kind of the shelter-in-place order, which I think he calls stay safe, stay home, stay healthy, something like that. So we have, even before the order came in, we had started working on our essential list of essential personnel that we have still working in the district, and we have, I think, until 5 o'clock tomorrow, I think is when the order takes effect, but we have been working on those lists. Janae, our chief HR officer, has been putting together the letter to be able to send out and share with employees so that they have that information. It's primarily folks involved with the two main functions that that the governor has outlined, which are feeding kids, continue to work to feed kids, and then also to try to take care of children that are the children of first responders and healthcare professionals. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well in a second. And then also employees that we deem essential in kind of the operations of our facilities. We still have buildings that we need to take care of, so we still have some folks in maintenance and grounds. In IT, it's important, obviously, for us to keep the network running, things like that. So we're working on that. The first thing that we did to kind of change, we sent out a letter to the community today. We had been doing the feeding program, and you've seen a lot of really great reports on that over the last week. I think in the letter we said that we'd served approximately 45,000 meals in the first 5 days. But it involved a lot of staff. I mean, we literally had probably close to 275 folks involved in transportation, as well as 75 or so in the food service program. So what I said in the letter was that we were kind of setting a pause because of the order, give us some time to kind of understand the order well, and move to feeding at sites. So we had the open sites that we've been working out of. 6 of those at elementaries at Cascade, Covington, and at Heritage, and we're going to have we'll have meals at every elementary. And then what we're in the meantime doing is trying to work on kind of another distribution system where we still deliver to. We try to find neighborhoods that are kind of highly dense with students, apartment complexes that aren't close to schools. So we're still working on a delivery system, and I would expect that when we come back after spring break that we'll have another one. We at one point had as many as 237 buses on the road when you think about that. And so we're trying to just think about how we can shrink that down and have a a system that's maybe a little safer, doesn't require as many staff members, but still tries to get to as many students as we can. I think what we have still offering meals up at every elementary and a few middle schools and a high school, I think still we have more locations than a lot of other areas around. So feel good about that. I know parents were frustrated today with the letter coming out, but honestly, at this time right now, we wanted to try to get some of these folks that are out in public home and then come back with a new model that will not have as many folks involved. The second thing that's considered essential from Governor Inslee is the daycare, and I would mention that it was probably I mean, our district doesn't have a daycare program. Some districts have a daycare program. I know Camas has one that they operate after school. I think Battleground has something. So we kind of are starting from scratch and literally calling people together last week, middle of the week, in meetings, Zoom meetings, and getting information together as quickly as possible. And I want to mention Janae specifically for that effort, leading that effort, and opened this morning. I think, what did we say, 45 or so children. There were folks there, I think, as early as 5:30. It's open still. It runs from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock. It's a daycare that was created in about 5 days, maybe, with programming. It's at Crestline. We have a lot of internal staff that have been very instrumental in making that happen. We've also worked with DSD. They've got SWIC programs, so they've provided a little guidance on that, on thoughts around what we would need to do in a program. ELCF has been part of it. Middle of the week, we're figuring the food. I would say, I talked, and I'm going to mention some names about the meal delivery system. Brian has been involved with that, working with food service. Jennifer Misfeld, Hussein with Chartwells, Yvonne in transportation, Lyndall in transportation, Doreen Lane. I mean, the number of people that have been involved have been amazing. But in addition to what they're doing with the meal service, Janae's leading this group of folks. In the middle of it, as we're trying to figure out how we're going to feed kids at the camp, we've got 2 meals. The summer program allows you to do 2 meals a day. So we're thinking about snacks, we're thinking about the 3rd meal, and then we get email from, I think it was Jimmy John's, which then that turned into us starting to reach out to various folks in the community. So we've, at this point, I think, secured meals 5 days a week, either from Firehouse, is it? Firehouse Subs, or Jimmy John's. So the kids get a breakfast from the school district, they get a lunch from the school district, and they get a dinner from one of the sub companies. And they're reaching out to others to participate. The effort from the community to just support has been amazing. But when kids come to the camp, the first thing they do is they have their temperature taken to make sure that there aren't any health issues with the students coming there. I was there. I had my temperature taken as well. I think if you're there more than 10 minutes, you get your temperature taken. So if you want to just have your temperature taken, you might just head on down, hang out for 10 minutes, and you get it taken. So it was a huge effort. Not only that, throughout the week last week, we worked with Janae, headed it up, but worked with both PSE groups, with the EA, to come out with the MOUs, the memorandums of understanding of how we operate in this closure, what the expectations are of staff, of what they're doing. And so a lot of work has gone into that. We've communicated almost every day. I think I shared with you a document that shows kind of some of the things that have happened over the last week. But the thing is that every day something new happens, and every day there's a new challenge, and we just continue to work through that. There's, I would say, going to be a pretty skeleton crew. The buildings will have someone in each building, principal or an associate principal, kind of working on a rotation. We haven't told people that the buildings are locked, that they can't come, so there may still be some teachers coming in and doing some work. We've got kind of a skeleton crew here. Aaron Lusich, Bill's been working extensively with Jay. Scott's not here. Actually, Scott Monroe is at Camp Evergreen working a shift. I think it was just a question of whether did the shift run later or was the board meeting going to run later to determine where he was going to go. But he's at Camp Evergreen right now working a shift. But they've been working a lot with this kind of evolving life of instruction online, where you started with you shouldn't do online learning because it's not a equitable way of doing so when we have folks, students that have a hard time accessing it, but that's kind of evolved into different things. But there was an email that went out this afternoon from Aaron Lusich to our billing principals with some templates for teachers to use. So we're kind of working through that so that after spring break, we kind of hit the ground running. I also am on Twitter occasionally, and I see our teachers are already reaching out and doing a lot of things with our staff. We've got contacted from teachers, from teacher librarians, offering different kinds of resources that we might put on the resource page for staff to use. So it's been, we're kind of, in some respects, learning as we go, but it's been a group of people really coming together, I think, extremely well to take care of the community. I would also mention, I don't know how many Chromebooks have been delivered now to elementary kids.
Like at Endeavor, I think we are out of Chromebooks so at school. So it was a 2-to-1 in the lower grade, so everyone's been, so it's hard to keep track how many are going out, but a lot of Chromebooks. Over 2,000.
Our middle schools and our high school students have their Chromebooks with them on a take-home model, but the elementary school students don't have. And you know, people, they think that things just happen. And one of the things I was talking with Brian about today is the idea that kids come and get their Chromebooks and they bring them home and they open them up and they think they just turn on. Well, they still have to connect to the internet. And that's sometimes a process to get parents the support that they need to try to connect to the internet. I know whenever I go home, if I've got something that I don't connect to the internet, what was my password? I don't remember my password. So, and then sometimes it's where do I even go to reset my password? So it's not easy. And you think about these things and how seamlessly they've occurred. The meal program started on Friday afternoon, and on Tuesday it was happening. And the Camp Evergreen, you know, we're working on that Tuesday, Wednesday, every day. But a week later, it's in place, and it was great. I was lucky enough to go by this morning and see some of the families and some of the kids, and just thank our employees that are there. So it's been pretty strange experience to go from March 13th to March 24th, and it'll be interesting to see how things move forward. When Governor Inslee spoke yesterday, he spoke about it being a 2-week, at least a 2-week order. So we're monitoring that. We have Zoom meetings with Superintendent Reichdahl. Seems like once or twice a week at least. I would say that OSPI has done a really good job of trying to communicate and advocate for school districts, and I think Superintendent Reichdahl has done a really amazing job. And we'll just keep working hard. So I don't know that there's really a question session. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions. But
What time is Camp Evergreen?
Camp Evergreen starts at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and it goes till 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay.
So what the way it's staffed is there are various groups within. So by age group, you have the penguins, or the younger kids. You have the polar bears that are the mid-range, and then the cougs are the older kids. Not the cougars, the cougs are the older kids. And so you've got teachers. I think there were maybe three or four classrooms of polar bears. There was one. Even Janae's daughter, Jamie, who teaches in the Woodland School District, was one of our teachers. She was volunteered by her mother to be here at 6 o'clock this morning. We have a lot of district office staff that have been down there helping out. I would be so anyway, and we have shifts of about 4 hours, so it's split up into, you know, whatever number of shifts. We have 14 hours, so it's somehow that works out. So it's not somebody there for 10 hours or 8 hours, because the jobs that people are doing at the daycare aren't jobs that they typically do. So Rhonda Walton, who's an administrative intern and an ELD coach, I think at Marion, has been real instrumental in helping create the program. So what the kids do when they're in the actual classroom and some of the things. So they're actually still there, and they'll be there until 8 o'clock. And when did they first start coming up this morning? Kids? They start showing up?
About 6:30.
About 6:30? Thank you.
I thought we
So 6:30 they started showing up, and I'm sure they're still there now. And it's
They stay or based on when their parents need to drop them. And,
yeah, the staff you're talking about?
no, the kids.
The kids?
Yeah.
No, the kids choose to leave whenever they choose. No, the kids only are released to their parents.
No, but
right?
I mean, they're not there from 6:30 to
When we
8.
got so
For all
Janae
of them?
sent out a letter to the,
Yeah.
like an interest letter. And when you look at the Google Doc that came off the interest letter, there were people that literally said, we will be there from 6 o'clock until 7:45. So there's a lot of nurses, there's medical
12-hour
technicians.
shifts.
Yeah,
So-
yeah,
They're working long shifts, these people. So they come, it's no cost, and I saw maybe about 15 kids, and they were all in a great mood. I mean, they were not like, I remember my kids when they got dropped off, and they were having your leg, and you're walking out with them holding onto your leg. The kids were all excited to be there, and the staff that were working with them were all really engaged and helping. It's a great thing.
Is Camp Evergreen going to be open for spring break?
Yeah, that is. So Camp Evergreen is Monday through Friday until at least April 24th, and then we'll see what happens beyond that. And I think it's reasonable to think that it could be extended beyond that.
The food services aren't planned for spring break.
So no, we did not have food services planned for spring break originally. And again, I'm going to say the people that have been involved with this have worked round the clock, literally for a number of days. And so part of it is not only the interest in, the desire to serve meals, but part of it also is making sure you have people that have to be able to do the work on the other side. And so a lot of it was the fact that people weren't planning on being around spring break, or the level of the staffing levels weren't going to be where they needed to be able to make that happen. I am comfortable in saying that I fully believe, I sent out an email to Brian and Jennifer, Yvonne, Hussein, this afternoon, just saying we're going to come back after spring break with some sort of a delivery plan that requires fewer vehicles than what we had, but gets us back to trying to get into the communities a little bit. And it's also reasonable to believe that it could be at some point that the governor would lift this stay home, stay healthy order, but we still aren't at school. And so there's no reason at that point we couldn't get back to trying to do some of the things that we had to do. So we want to plan for it and transition back into that as quickly as we can.
But I was thinking, do we have a list of resources that towns can fall back on with?
I think we've posted. Gail
We do.
can maybe share.
And then we're in the process of making posters and flyers that we'll have at the food pickup sites in the next couple of days, so that when people pick them up, they'll be able to see where they can access services over the break.
The website, the link for everything's really nice. I liked it. Got a lot of good information
It
on
does.
it.
There's a lot of good information. I agree with that.
Well, I'm glad that since, we weren't able to continue to do the bus transportation with the food right now, that at least we got it to every elementary school and some other sites. That way, there's a lot of our schools are neighborhood schools, and so there's some access there that we didn't have before.
Yeah, the sites that we're operating in right now, the 6 elementaries and the 3 other schools, we're serving in excess of 100 meals a day in those schools, and so there's no limit on those, and they'll make sure that they're delivering enough. And I understand that it's a hardship, but at the same time, it's managing that program. It's also managing our staff and making sure that we have the staff available, and I think I said that it's a pause, and then we're gonna kind of reconfigure what we're doing and come up after the break with a new.
New plan.
That's all I'm gonna say about that. I would just really quickly, we had an exit audit, this afternoon. It was all done by phone, and I believe all the auditors are now working from home, it seems. And we had a clean audit, so no audit findings. That's a good thing. And they expect our audit next year to cost a little bit less money because it won't need to have as much time. So that's good. And then this morning, myself and Janae and Bill also participated on a call with EEA. We had our first negotiation meeting with them. So we started, I think our next one's April 9th. So we'll come back after spring break and the business continues.
All right.
So that's all I've got.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is citizen comments. Because of our not wanting to have a gathering of more than what the acceptable amount is now, we asked for citizen comments to be sent through email. We had a link on our website, is that correct, Lori? And from what I understand, no one sent anything in at this point, so I guess we'll move on. We'll go ahead and go into a recess at this time, where we'll sign papers, and then we're going to be back in executive session to discuss real estate. Thank you.